Hello, hello, and welcome back. This is Michael Kastman. I do apologize. We just came back. We had some technical difficulties, so I had to readjust everything and relaunch the stream. But we are back, and what I was just explaining is that paid advertising is a very powerful lead generation tool. Whether you're using it on social media or search engine results, really powerful. It gives you a lot of reach. There are lots of great reasons to use paid advertising. Most of the time, it is very fast and fairly cheap to test lots of different angles. Really great perk. Paid advertising tends to be pretty customizable, and you can test very specific segments of people, or you can go extremely broad. It's really about how you tell the platform to work for you. And it's one of the fastest ways to grow your brand presence online. You can be a tiny little business, but if you do paid ads correctly, and if you have lots of money to spend, you can make your business appear to be much bigger than it actually is. And you can get in front of potentially far more customers than you otherwise would. Those are some of the primary benefits of paid advertising. Now, if you look at the title of this stream, we've got some strong ideas in there, and we're going to touch on those as part of the downsides of what comes along with paid advertising. So we talked about some of the good things, but the fact is, with paid advertising, not everything is rainbows and unicorns. There are some serious downsides that you have to consider, whether you're a business owner or you're a marketer. And if you talk to any professional who does paid advertising as their specialization, they will tell you exactly the same thing. And I'm not personally a paid ads specialist. I'm a copywriter. I'm a direct response marketer. But I work alongside paid ad specialists every single day, and we're working together on a regular basis because they need copy for their ads, and I need their expertise to help me direct the copy that I write and make sure that everything is compliant, and try to fix things when they break, which is exactly what I'm going to get into a little bit later. But one of the biggest downsides about paid ads is that it can be extremely expensive, especially if you don't do it just right. If you choose the wrong audience, or if you try to get too specific, if you're not keeping track of the limits that you put on your ad spend, or how quickly it's going to be spent. Sometimes you can make very costly mistakes just by not knowing how to make the platform work for you in a very efficient way. So if you're going to do paid ads, make sure you're dealing with somebody who knows what they're doing. Otherwise, you could spend way more than you actually intended to. Secondly, another downside is that the success of your advertisement is heavily based on how the algorithm is feeling that day. And the algorithm changes pretty frequently, and they don't always tell you what exactly changes or what it means for your advertising. The only time, I mean, most of the time, people only realize that there's a change in the algorithm when everything that they were doing that was working suddenly breaks all at the same time. I mean, the same thing can happen if other really large advertising accounts change their behavior. So if you're in a certain industry and you're spending a certain amount of money regularly, but one of your competitors suddenly starts spending triple, quadruple, or 10 times the normal ad spend, there's some sort of algorithmic alchemy going on in the background that will actually it'll cause some sort of a chain reaction whereby your competitors' spending affects your own and the efficacy of your advertising. It's probably something like supply and demand. Like if they're putting in tons of money, then the algorithm is like, okay, well, there's more demand, so let's raise the prices. So your prices go up because of how your competitors started spending. Something like that. Again, I'm not a perfect expert. I'm giving you an outside perspective for what seems to happen from somebody who's in the trenches working with ads basically every single day. And so the cost is a problem. The changes in the algorithm and can be a problem. There's a lot of volatility involved. Um, but let me tell you about something that's even more, I would say sinister. But if I were to say sinister, I would have to provide maybe some sort of proof that I can demonstrate like malicious intent. I can't do that, but I am just going to tell you what it seems like. Like I said, I work with lots of paid ad specialists, and I've worked with clients who spend tens of millions of dollars on paid advertising. And one thing that I've seen again and again is that if my clients, if they really dial in their approach on a certain ad to a certain audience, and they start getting really high quality leads really cheaply, it's like they've hit a gold mine, right? They will start doing this with a low spend because they're trying to test angles and test approaches to their advertising. But once they hit a gold mine, then their inclination is, okay, now we have something that works. So let's put a bunch of money into it and get as much as we can out of this opportunity. Well, a funny thing happens. Basically, every time they go to make that big increase in ad spend, they increase the spend, and then almost immediately, everything breaks. They're not getting the same leads that they were getting, or the leads are getting much more expensive, or ads are getting taken down. I mean, just like it seems like the whole machine just starts to spontaneously combust as soon as you dump a whole chunk of money in there. And then, of course, what does the advertiser do? The advertiser dials back the ad spend, tries again at a much lower rate, and then what do you know? More often than not, you start getting back to more favorable results pretty quickly. That to me is very suspect. It reminds me of in Vegas. I mean, one of the strategies for keeping people in the gambling, like in the game, is to give them little wins, nurture this idea that they have a chance to win the jackpot. And then when they bet really big, all of a sudden, oh, the house wins and they lose all their money, right? But they then give them a couple of more small wins and they keep them in the game. So I would say if I had evidence, I would call it rug pulling, but I don't have evidence. So I just have to call it coincidence. Take from that what you will. But that's a very suspicious thing. So just be aware of that. And keep an eye out. If you hit gold and you're getting great leads at a great price and you increase the spend, watch what happens and see if you experience the same thing that I'm describing. Now, as problematic as that is, there's actually something even more problematic, which is that if you do paid advertising, and I am suggesting that you do paid advertising, by the way. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that you need to be careful of these areas of concern. There's a very serious area of concern, which is that you are 100% at the mercy of the biases of the algorithm gods. So whoever is programming the algorithm, or whoever is making the rules, whoever is doing the shot calling when it comes to advertising on the platform, their biases, their political prejudice will determine what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do on their platform. And they can strip away your ability to promote yourself if you trespass their biases. What does that mean? It means that if you are doing paid ads, you have given 100% of the control of that lead flow. You have handed that control over to someone else who may or may not hate you at some point. You are handing over the control of that lead flow to somebody who may or may not at some point in the future decide that you are not worthy to be able to speak freely, and they will strip you of that ability. That's a bit of a problem. If you're trying to promote yourself, if you're trying to run ads and raise awareness, but your number one lead source could be compromised at any time, that's a very vulnerable position. There are plenty of examples from people who run lots of ads, of ads simply being halted, or accounts being blocked, accounts being suspended for very seemingly innocuous reasons, or very generic and vague reasons that don't make a whole lot of sense. Um, and what I've come to realize is that sometimes people are just penalized for voicing unpopular opinions. For example, I worked with a client who was having enormous success with paid advertising on basically all platforms. And then in 2024, this client of mine came out very energetically and very boldly about President Donald Trump, in support of President Trump. And all of a sudden, his ads started like just bombing, and his ads were getting blocked and disapproved, and his ad accounts were being suspended left and right. Um, that was, and that was before the billionaires and the tech oligarchs started to warm up to Trump, and they eventually came and visited him and tried to cozy up to him, and probably got some special deals cut for themselves as long as they were good and cooperated, right? Before all of that took place, this client of mine went from basically king of the hill with paid ads to suddenly struggling just to keep ad accounts alive, because all of a sudden, in the heat of all of this election stuff, his ads just started getting blown up left and right. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence, right? Maybe it has nothing to do with censorship or bias or political persecution. Maybe it has nothing to do with it, but it's definitely very suspect. And there's another example. If you've been following the TikTok thing, the TikTok ban, which is now a thing in the past, TikTok seems to be safe now, I guess. But TikTok did actually go down for several hours on the day that it was supposed to be banned. And it came back only a few hours after it was shut down. But a funny thing happened, which is that they quietly changed their terms of service to expand their hate speech definitions. And all of a sudden, opinions on their platform, which were greatly proliferated and tolerated before the shutdown, all of a sudden were getting completely blanket banned, censored, blocked, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not familiar with all of the platforms, but typically what happens is if your account is banned or blocked or suspended in some way, typically you are penalized and or completely barred from running ads on that platform. So if you misbehave and you get struck by the algorithm, even on your personal page, you may not be able to run ads on that platform at all. And that's a problem, because that means that if you have unpopular opinions, you're going to have a really tough time advertising on paid media. If you run a business and then on your personal page you make an offhanded remark that it's evil to drop white phosphorus on women and children who can't defend themselves, and that offends one of the algorithm gods, all of a sudden you're going to get struck, and that could be the end of your advertising career on that platform, because you have a controversial opinion. It's very unfortunate. Or I have no proof of this per se, but it seems like even if people aren't overt about their controversial opinions, if they are connected with people who have too many controversial opinions, they can also get penalized for that as well. This is just deduction. I don't have proof of that, but it really does seem like on social media there is a social credit score system. And that is taken into account when you want to advertise on their platform, which, let's be honest, it makes sense. Platforms have a right to approve or disapprove people on their platform, and that's totally fine. There's no problem with that. But you just have to understand what that means. You have to understand that they are in complete control of your lead flow. If they can determine whether you are free to speak or you are free to advertise, that means that all of the leads that you get through that platform are at risk, and that you just need to be okay with that. You can still run paid ads. You just have to realize that they could shut you down at any moment, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Which is why I recommend, if you're going to do paid ads, diversify your lead generation. Diversify your lead generation strategy. Do not just use paid ads. Use organic. Use something like email marketing. At least it's not perfect, but email marketing gives you a lot more control over your reach, and it's not nearly as policed. Like Gestapo level censorship is not happening yet through email marketing. So you can be a little bit safer in your email along with paid ads. Additionally, you could do something like direct mail. Direct mail is also far less like I guess you would say censorable. If you put an envelope in the mail and you send it to somebody, it's not like Mark Zuckerberg is going to be opening your mail and checking everything. So direct mail is another much more um, is another medium where you, as the advertiser, have a lot more control over how and whether your message gets to your audience. So those are just two examples. There are more. And so I am personally interested in helping people grow their email list, grow their direct mail list, grow their audience. I love the idea of things like newsletters, because newsletters are a great way, whether it's, excuse me, newsletters, whether they are email or physical, are great ways to stay in touch with your customer, to nurture that relationship. And relationships have a lot to do with the average lifetime value of your customer. The more high quality your relationship is with that customer, there's almost an inverse relationship where or I'm sorry, not inverse. There is a commensurate relationship between the quality of the relationship and the degree that they're willing to spend with you. So the greater you can nurture the relationship, the better. And an email newsletter and a physical newsletter are great ways to do that. And I would love to help you if that's something that you are interested in. You can email me at mike@shatterpoint.pro, or you can go to michaelcasman.com/apply, and you can drop the description of what you need in that application. Either way, I'd be more than happy to hear from you. I'd be more than happy to set up a call to talk about what you need, if that makes sense. But regardless, what I would my parting advice is definitely look into doing paid ads to grow your business, to get more leads, but don't make that the only option that you have. You don't want to be stuck just trying to serve the algorithm gods forever. Have paid ads for what it's good for, but also have other organic, more controllable sources that, in the event that your opinions become unpopular on social media and the algorithm gods decide to strike you down and destroy everything that you've built, you have other options. All right, that is all for now. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that you got some great value from it. Please let me know either in the comments, or like I said, you can email me at mike@shatterpoint.pro. Let me know what you think, and have a great evening. I will talk to you again soon.